so caffeinated right now. Hold on, let me caffeinate myself some more. Let me caffeinate myself some more. I'm totally caffeinated and I'm ready to go. Pepe, I'm caffeinated. I, as a content creator, understand criticisms and critiques. And in the game development world, it is so very important to keep that critique level to a maximum. I feel like if you lose that critique level, you lose an edge, you lose your sharpness, you lose really that savagery that people come back to you for over and over again. They want that sharp razor-like edge. They want to see decapitations. They want explosions. They want excitement. They want beast mode. I feel like this video is going to give it to him, at least in terms of my audience. I've been following Star Citizen for quite a long time. I have at times been called a naysayer. Nay. Okay? No, it has nothing to do with horses. I've also been called a white knight. Also, I have then been called a naysayer again. And also a white knight again. Now, can I get an amen on this? For people that understand what I've been through. Can I get one?
Yes, sir. Can I get an amen? Yes.
Thank you. So people understand, as a rational human being, right, that over time and researching and information and what you're reading, that it can always change based upon what it is that you absorb, right? What are you absorbing? What are you filtering in, right? Now, when I see this video's title as a content creator, trust me, I'm guilty of it myself. This is a clickbait orgasm. This is on top of its game in terms of that clickbait amazingness that just gives you like so many good vibes, really good ones. But let's just go over the title really first. And as a content creator, I'm guilty of this myself. Okay, but we have ourselves the most the Olympian clickbait title I've ever seen in my life, and I would like to applaud that. I would. Unfortunately, people are wired that way. But let's see here. We have Star Citizen exposed. There's one. Okay. We have $500 million raised. You're like, what? $500 million is a lot of money, right? We got We got 10 years in development. You're like, wow, what's taking so long? We got that. And we have no release date in sight. Now, I would like to applaud this gentleman for winning the award and the most clickbaity title I've ever seen in my life. Okay? His name is Big Dan Gaming. Now, I like the name. Let us see what there is to see in this 35-minute saga where all the answers will be revealed. Every answer you've ever wondered will be given. I can't wait.
October 18th, 2012, Cloud Imperium Games announced a Kickstarter campaign for a bold new project. Star Citizen was set to be a massive space simulation game, complete with a persistent universe, trading, FPS combat, ship fighting, customizable spaceships, a single-player campaign, online multiplayer, and a massive galaxy with over 100 star systems to explore. The goal was to raise $2 million to fund development and release the game in November 2014. Within weeks, Star Citizen smashed crowdfunding records, raising over $2.1 million on Kickstarter.
By the way, I've seen this at least 1,000,001 times. And, you know, I understand what he's trying to do here. For people who don't understand what Star Citizen is, he's given that, you know, description generally in general terms to give you the highlights, right? Like, here's how the progression of development has gone. But man, I'm so sick of it. I'm like, I understand, you know, I'm coming from it as a Star Citizen backer, so I have to just take a breath on this. I'm not going to get mad at this point. I'm not going to get mad. I'm just going to look at this rationally for what this man says. And I am not going to go beast mode. I'm not going to go beast mode.
Kickstarter before continuing fundraising on their own website, robertspaceindustries.com. Fast forward to 2022. Star Citizen has raised nearly $500 million over the past decade, and yet the game is still nowhere near complete, leaving many people wondering why. This is a story of uncompromising ambition and the power of crowdfunding. It's also a story of broken promises, missed deadlines, lack of accountability, and incredible scope creep on an unprecedented scale for the video game industry. In this video, we're doing a deep dive on Star Citizen, from the project's inception to the present day. But to fully understand the saga of Star Citizen, we first need to investigate the project's creator.
Okay, hold on. All right.
Austin, Texas, late 1980s. A young Chris Roberts strolls into the offices of Origin Systems and pitches his idea for an ambitious space simulator game. The day Chris Roberts came in to pitch Wing Commander was one I will never forget, recalled colleague Richard Garriott. It was obvious to all who saw it that this was a winning formula. It was obvious that Chris was a true visionary. Released in September 1990, Wing Commander would go on to be a smashing success.
I mean, the real juice of Wing Commander was the replayability. It was one of the very first games that introduced a game design that featured like a choose-your-own-adventure styling. I know there's a lot of kids in the audience right now, but back in the day, we read stuff called books. It was printed on a material called paper. I know many of you have no idea what this magical thing is that I speak of, but it does come from a tree. It's organic. You can write on it. A lot of people don't understand what pencils or pens are these days. It is a utensil that you used to make marks on parchment. But there were these books called Choose Your Own Adventure books. And you would start out the book, right? And you would read up to page 5. And then on page 5, it would say, Timmy needs to decide whether he wants to kill the spider or not kill the spider, right? So if you want to kill the spider, you go to page 22. If you want to not kill the spider, you go to page 5, 15, whatever, right? Now, these books, they were called Choose Your Own Adventure books, okay? It was actually quite new technology back in my boomer days. And what Chris did was implement the game design, and he modeled it after a Choose Your Own Adventure book. And the replayability of Wing Commander was through the roof because of that. He adopted the Choose Your Own Adventure style into the game, so that when you were playing Wing Commander, you would like have these attachments to characters because there was a storyline. And sometimes, depending upon the missions that you flew, some of the pilots that you would fly with would die and therefore would be taken out of the story, right? You would have choices you would have to make in the game, right? And those choices affect the overall story. It was quite magical how much of an effect this game had on people in the 90s. It had a big, deep, long-lasting effect to the point where it translated into people just saying, oh yeah, I remember Wing Commander, I remember the vibes. But it just wasn't Wing Commander. It was other titles like Privateer, Freelancer. There's a lot of titles out there that many of us remember that Chris created. So let's keep going. The replayability was the juice, though. it really made you keep coming back to it to see what happened to other characters. You could play it over and over and over again and get different like results. It was fun.
That's selling nearly.
But the coolest part was you could save that progress at the end, right? You could take that data and then you could shove it over into the next Wing Commander 2, Wing Commander 2 to Wing Commander 3.
300,000 copies by February 1995. This cemented Chris Roberts' reputation as a rock star in the gaming industry. Wing Commander's success also caught the eye of Electronic Arts, who purchased Origin Systems in 1992. With EA's backing, Origin would go on to make 3 sequels in the franchise. But despite a massive increase in financial backing, Chris Roberts was not thrilled with the sale to EA. I wouldn't have been able to make Wing Commander 3 without EA buying Origin. The downside is as you get bigger and become more beholden to things like, we need the sequel here, and we need you in this release window, it feels like you're in a machine versus creating stuff that you're really 100% excited about. Chafing under the management of his corporate overlords, Roberts left Origin in 1996 and founded his own studio, Digital Anvil, with 7 partners including his brother Aaron. From the start, Roberts took on hugely ambitious projects, including his magnum opus, Freelancer. But 4 years later, the company still hadn't released its own game, aside from Starlancer, which was mostly developed by a partner studio called Warthog Games. By this point, Freelancer was massively over budget and delayed into 2001. Digital Anvil was in dire financial straits, so they decided to sell the company to Microsoft, and Chris Roberts walked away from the studio entirely. Eurogamer reported on the sale in December 2000. Having left the monolithic corporate world that is Electronic Arts almost 5 years ago to found Digital Anvil in the first place, it is somewhat ironic that his dream development studio is now being taken over by the monolithic corporate world that is Microsoft. And Roberts has confirmed that his decision to leave the company is simply because he has no desire to find himself in this.
I wanted all of its DeFi gloriousness in normal speed here. I want to experience this in normal speed. I want to experience all this in normal speed. I love it. I love the pain.
Same situation again. With 2 game studios sold in less than a decade, Roberts decided to turn his attention to Hollywood, having dabbled in film production during the 1990s and early 2000s. He made his directorial debut in 1999 with Wing Commander, a film based on his game franchise. After the Microsoft sale, when Eurogamer learned of Roberts' Hollywood plans, they wrote, "Oh please God, no. Anybody who has had the misfortune to see the truly appalling Wing Commander movie will be praying that Chris has a sudden change of heart."
I'm gonna go get her, all right? I'm gonna go get her. You are not going out there. Get away from me, you son of a bitch. Hey, you are not going out there.
I love the fucking bulldozer scene. I love this scene. Yeah, admittedly, not always the best at directing Hollywood films. That is his passion. You know, he does like to do that. Okay, let's keep going.
Wing Commander would be the only feature film Chris Roberts directed. He would instead focus his attention on producing movies, helping other directors achieve their creative vision. During his stint in Hollywood, he racked up a few producer credits, such as The Jacket, Lucky Number 11, and most notably, Lord of War starring Nicolas Cage.
I actually liked Lord of War.
By the late 2000s,
yeah, Lord of War was pretty fucking cool, man. I actually dug Lord of War.
Roberts started
Lucky Number 11,
to get the itch to make video games again. And by that point, technology had vastly improved. It was time to reignite his dream of developing the ultimate space simulation game. But Roberts didn't just want to walk back into a corporate studio environment. The suits would just kill his vibes, man. But with the rise of independent game publishing, maybe he wouldn't have to. Chris Roberts decided it was time to make his pitch directly to the people.
Chris Roberts is a fucking salesman, man. He can do it. There's a reason why they raised $500 million. He knows how to fucking present a product. Listen, we talk about this all the time. We've seen 3 titles now this week that have miserably tried to communicate what it is they are producing for their base. Okay? We saw The Disconnection. of Star Atlas, which I was looking forward to. Okay, but now between what I've seen from the Eradicator and how the copyright striked him, eliminating his voice because they didn't agree with his opinion, that really put a bad taste in my mouth. Okay, but the way they presented their product was so sloppy, a second grader could do it. Okay, it was so bad what I've seen from Star Atlas come out recently, to the point where the community manager and the content creator are now part of my Discord and say, you know what, DG, we take your criticism seriously. You're right. We're going to do better. So I applaud him on that. Okay, I do. I'm turning the applause off because I don't like the fact that it seems like shit got personal between Michael Wagner, the CEO of Star Atlas, and my friend the Eradicator, and then they gave him a copyright strike on his second channel that has 2,000 subscribers, which is frankly corpo moves. Those are corpo moves, but we saw that disconnect. We saw how they're not connecting with the gamer. We saw the disconnect with Dual Universe recently, and the great reset that's coming upon us, and the changes that NovaCorp put down. We saw that. Horrible, right? Though my point is this. In terms of consistency and transparency, for the most part, in the game development world, Cloud Imperium has been one of the most transparent, consistent companies that clearly defines as far as, like... No, they don't always clearly define. They don't always clearly define. They could do a lot better. They could have a StarCitizen.com webpage. They can make things much easier and much smoother in the onboarding process of Star Citizen. So let me retract that. But what I will say is that they are very consistent. They are very consistent. And they show you what they're doing. They show you the development team. They show you what they're working on. There is a communication between developer and gamer that really I have not seen a lot of in the game development world. So I will give them kudos on that. And I think that if you're really involved in game development and you've really followed multiple projects, that you can see how Cloud Imperium is actually making it relatable to the gamer and keeping a base, keeping an interested player base by providing new content. They don't even have to put out PvE-driven content in the game if they don't want to, because of the mess that's going on right now with the servers and the AI, but they still do it. They could just say, fuck it, we're not going to do it. They could literally be like that, but they're not. So I don't see a lot of content creators give them credit where credit is due in terms of that. What's happening right now? Let's continue.
But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. My name is Chris Roberts, and I would like to build a universe with you.
In 2011, Chris Roberts founded Cloud Imperium Games and got to work building a prototype for Star Citizen using CryEngine. He first unveiled snippets of gameplay and concept art at the Game Development Conference in October 2012, making his pitch for crowdfunding on stage. Given that Star Citizen has become the poster child of crowdfunding, it's interesting to note that Roberts initially considered other options to fund his game. Taking inspiration from the independent publishing successes of League of Legends and Minecraft, he originally courted private investors and even considered selling pre-orders for an alpha directly to the fans.
Yes, and in fact, we interviewed one of those VC members, venture capitalist members. His name is Bucha, ATX Blinky. He is the creator of Sunk Cost Galaxy, which I think is a great series. A lot of people get angry when I say that. But there was a lot of really cool information in that. It was a good interview with Bucha. I happen to think Bucha personally, you know, a lot of people get upset by some of the things that he's done. But like in terms of the interview process I had with Bucha, I thought it was very civil, and it wasn't what I expected. I expected him to be really douchey. I expected him to be, you know, like, and though, you know, it was nice to sit down and talk to him. We talked about the business aspect, the business end of Cloud Imperium. And you guys can find that on the channel. Just type up, I think it's Sunk Cost Galaxy. If you want to see that interview, I did it a few years back with Bucha, and I found him to be very civil. But I know that a lot of people were upset about Bucha in terms of what he was talking about with Sandy, and I didn't get into that. I don't want to get into that stuff, so I don't know what's going on there. But you guys can check out that interview if you want to listen to about the way things started, the origin of Cloud Imperium. It's a really wonderful interview because he was actually approached by members, and they were going after venture capitalist money before they even brought this to crowdfunding. So it really shed some insight on how they booted up Cloud Imperium. It was wonderful insight that I got through the interview.
But after seeing the success of Double Fine's Broken Age, which raised over $3 million on Kickstarter in early 2012, Roberts decided crowdfunding was the best route to gain investment for Star Citizen. Initially, CIG started raising funds on their own website, but the studio was unprepared for the amount of support they were about to receive.
Right.
After launching their independent crowdfunding webpage, the site received so much traffic that it crashed their servers. But despite these setbacks, they still managed to raise over $1 million in a single week before bringing the project to Kickstarter in mid-October 2012. The crowdfunding campaign was a massive success. By the end of 2012, Star Citizen raised over $2.1 million on Kickstarter and an additional $5 million on their own website. They also surpassed all stretch goals for their campaign, which included adding new things to the project like celebrity voice acting for the...
And the criticism, and he hasn't said it yet, so I'm not quite sure if he's going to say something. He might. But one of the criticisms I see a lot following this project, where you see a lot of people get upset and angry, is they're like, well, there's so much feature creep. It's taking forever with all this feature creep. And a lot of people point the finger squarely at the developer. And yet, when you see these stretch goals, one after the other, yes, people want it. So really, there needs to be some blame put on the player base as well for the feature creep. But the people who are really hardcore backers of Star Citizen don't mind it because they want their everything game. It's one thing that a lot of critics don't really take into account is the forever game. People want to marry a game. People want their favorite game. They want to know what they're getting into every single night. They want a little bit of spice thrown in, change a few things here and there, and some new content that can be thrown in for PvE, spice that up, some new places for player-to-player interactions, some PvP, spice that up, give it a little magic, if you will. Right? But I really want the critics to understand, or the people that are coming at this in a manner, and I don't think this is necessarily biased against anything yet. I so far most of the information is correct, and I'm watching this, and I haven't seen him put too heavy a slant on which way he's going here. But people want a forever game, right? The reason why Star Citizen is so successful is because you can see it in the stretch goals. The people want their forever game. They're like, yes, do you want this? Yes. Do you want this? Yes. Do you want this, this, and this? Yes. Yes. You watch these stretch goals, it's all yes. Until finally they realized, well, shit, we want all gameplay mechanics. We want every style of gameplay. From economic to PvP, FPS, space sim combat. We want an industry, player bases, land wars. We want the lore inserted in. We want the NPCs to relate to, and it has been a long journey. It has been a long journey. Trust me, we've all been through it. But the reason I think that gets dismissed or overlooked on why it has taken so long is us. I mean, let's seriously look at ourselves. We want the forever game. And so it's taking a long time to build a forever game. Right now in the gaming industry, there's this void. There's this black hole. It's a pit. I've never seen the gaming industry like this. It's a cesspool. it's it's debacle, man. Like it's crazy. And there's just this vacuum. And so Star Citizen's success is also built upon the fact that, like, right now, what are the alternatives in giving us an experience that we want? And that really lays into the amount of revenue, over $500 million. I mean, you know, 500 million.
The single-player story, and 100 star systems in the final game on launch. There are several factors that explain the success of Star Citizen's initial crowdfunding efforts. For starters, by the early 2010s, there was a huge gap in the market for an ambitious space simulation game. The genre had become pretty much dormant for over a decade, with all the big box publishers sticking to safer categories like FPS and RPGs. Second, despite being out of the business for so long, Roberts still had an excellent reputation in the industry for his work on Wing Commander and Freelancer. Many gamers and developers alike were excited to see what Roberts would produce next. Roberts also put an emphasis on pushing the boundaries of technology and being a PC-only game, which was another gap in the market. In the early 2010s, most AAA developers were focused on console, treating the PC market as an afterthought. Finally, Roberts had an excellent pitch, selling people on the dream of what Star Citizen could be. An epic spacefaring adventure where you could go anywhere and be anyone you wanted to be. But
I mean, you know, you're going to get people laughing at me when I say this, but in a way, you know, he is visionary in the space, and he is primarily the reason why the 256 megabyte Radeon card was so successful back in the 90s, why a lot of people ended up having to buy the card to play Wing Commander and other titles from him, because it was so graphics intensive. You remember 256 megabytes? You remember back in those days when 256 megabytes was what you were rocking? What are we doing now on a 3080? What are we doing now? We've come a long way. But I will say this. He's not the only reason, but he's a primary driver behind why the industry pushed to upgrade that hardware. I think he's a primary driver behind graphics cards being pushed to their boundaries. I really respect that, man. You know, look at what it started, you know, and look how that has kind of grown. And look what PC gaming has become. Most people were rocking consoles back in the day, man. You know, most people were rocking the consoles, and they didn't want to have to deal with PCs. And like, really, people like Chris, developers like Chris, that focused on PC gaming and pushed the boundaries because what their games were demanded the best hardware that you could get. In terms of what they were making, most times were made specifically to run a game. I mean, back in the 90s, there wasn't much out. and you know, if there was a game pushing the boundaries and there was no, you know, the new hardware had to support it, like they would like the companies would say, okay, well, we have to create something, you know, of magnitude that will give us the graphics that we're looking forward to. This is the 90s, okay? This was like the Stone Age. This is the Stone Age PC gaming, man, where the hardware was actually built for the game.
Despite raising millions in a matter of months, Roberts knew they would need additional funding to build the full game. In an interview with Game Informer, he estimated the full project would cost between $12 and $14 million, which is why they continued raising funds on their own website after the Kickstarter campaign ended. From the beginning, Roberts wanted to engage the community in the project. This would ensure direct feedback on the alpha version of the game, as well as continued funding from an activated audience. Our job is to entertain our audience during the 2 years they'll be waiting for the game, Roberts told Game Industry Biz. I want to make the journey for everyone that backed it as fun as the actual game. I want them to get to the point where they feel like they got their money's worth before the finished game is actually released. That's a big priority for me. To this end, CIG created a community forum where backers of the game could post and interact. They also posted regular
Spectrum is so fucking toxic. It's worse than Reddit. It's literally worse than Reddit.
Updates on their website and YouTube channel to keep backers informed about the progress of the project. The first alpha version of Star Citizen was released in 2013, allowing players to dive into the game and provide feedback on the earliest builds. CIG took a modular approach to development, releasing new game modes, vertical slices, and features piecemeal over time. While the process was somewhat slow and the alpha builds had many bugs, they had the benefit of engaging the community directly in the development process. It also had the benefit of increasing crowdfunding. The money just kept rolling in. $20 million in September 2013, $35 million in December, eventually crossing $50 million in August 2014.
How dare them? How dare them?
Star Citizen was now approaching the budget size of a major AAA game release, which increased excitement around the project, encouraging even more funding. I'm confident now that we'll be able to compete with any AAA game out there. I can't do what I did with Freelancer, or what id did with Rage, and take 5 years to release it. At that point, the moment in time will be gone. But in 2 years, it will be pretty great. But the appeal of an insanely ambitious space game doesn't fully explain the success of Star Citizen's crowdfunding efforts. The company had raised over $50 million in less than 2 years. You're not going to raise that kind of money with a few blog posts and a bare-bones alpha. In order to totally understand how Roberts and CIG managed to smash crowdfunding records, we need to dive into the wild world of luxury virtual starships. So how much could a virtual ship in an unfinished space game possibly cost? $20, maybe $30? $1,100! Holy shit! Star Citizen has managed to raise...
Don't hear... Hey, here's something interesting to know. If you don't have that kind of discretionary cash, you don't have to spend it. Nobody's pointing a gun at you to spend that kind of money. Obviously, there's people out there with a lot of fucking cash that put that money down, right? And then nobody's forcing anybody to pledge any of this money, by the way. Yeah, is $1,100 ridiculous for me? Yeah. I mean, the very, very, very real world. I'm very broke in the real world. I couldn't spend that money on it. But if I was a much more successful DG with a bankroll behind me that could support it, why the fuck not? What would $1,100 mean to me if I had a couple $100,000 in the bank? You know what I'm saying? I'd just be like, yeah, you know, like it's all relative to it's a weird. Yeah. Is it shocking to see like an $1,100 like spaceship? But here's the funny part. Here's the best part. People do it. People bought it and pledged it. If they hadn't thought of it to put it down there, they wouldn't have got that revenue. They wouldn't have brought that money in. I mean, is that necessarily predatory? Like if you're offering a package and it's like, here, $1,100, right? Is it predatory? I don't know. I mean, there's a couple angles you could go at it from, right? But, you know, for the most part, it's like they put a package out there. It's $1,100 and somebody pledged $1,100. You know? Oh my God. Can you believe it?
A good portion of its funds through the sale of luxury priced spaceships, which range in cost from $25 to over $1,000. Some of these are offered to the public before the asset.
I mean, they got packages for $10,000. Like, do I think that's ridiculous? Absolutely, absolutely, man. I could never imagine spending that kind of money. But have people done it? Yeah. Okay, there's situations where people can't afford it and they spend it, and that's terrible, right? But everybody needs a pair of big boy pants, you know. The thing is like,
Are you a big man?
That's how people learn. That's how people learn.
What?
Okay. Here's a dude who makes like, you know, 20-some thousand, 30,000 a year that spends 10,000 on a package, right? And he decides to pledge it, right? And then he doesn't eat for the next 3 months, and he has no gas for his car, right? This is called learning. This is called evolution, right? It's Darwinism. It's something that's kind of missing today, and I really miss it. Because everywhere I fucking go, there's lemmings. Everywhere I fucking go, there's lemmings anymore. And, you know, we have to protect them. They don't know what they're doing. They could just jump right off a cliff. We have to protect all of them. Let's just, let's put little hazard tape around and some cones. The thing is, man, just to put the fucking big boy pants on. If somebody only makes $20,000 to $30,000 and spends $10,000 on a package, dude, they're gonna learn. They're gonna learn, and that's how you learn. Sometimes people got to learn the hard way, and that's just called evolution. And we can't prevent that because that'll be the downfall of our species. Just a side note.
Sets have even been created in the game. It's kind of genius, really. CIG uses an interesting mix of tactics to encourage their supporters to buy these ships, including forced scarcity and loss aversion. Let's take a close.
Yeah, I mean, tell me a company that doesn't do that. Can you tell me a game developer that doesn't employ the same tactics? There might be a few, but they're probably not around for too long, Yeah, right. Oh no, capitalism! What are you doing? I thought I'd be mad, but it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny so far. Okay, all right. This guy hasn't said anything outrageous yet. Like, really? So far, I'm not even upset. It's nothing outrageous. It's just like a documentary with a slight slant of bias that I can hear in the tone, but let's keep going.
Closer look at how this works. In 1984, psychologist Robert Cialdini published a book called Influence. This title explores the way marketers and salespeople leverage human psychology to influence people's decision-making.
Yeah.
Chapter 7 explores the concept of scarcity. Opportunities seem more valuable to us when their availability is limited. Companies can increase demand for their products by introducing artificial scarcity, such as limiting the number of available units for sale and...
I mean, isn't this basic supply-demand economics? This is just supply-demand economics. This is not just in game development. This is in the entire financial world and DeFi and legacy finance. It's the way the world is run. It's capitalism. It's what the whole fucking world's built on. It's a monetary system. It's, this is exactly what scarcity isn't just a fucking, scarcity isn't just related to Star Citizen. It's supply demand, motherfuckers. It's all around you. It's all around you. We determine value. We determine value based upon supply and demand. If there's an excess of supply and no demand, guess what? It's not gonna be worth a lot because there's a shit ton of it, right? If there's not a lot of it, and the demand is high, well, guess what? It's worth more, right? Now to duplicate that in your system, as it were, like Cloud Imperium has done, how is this different from any other fucking company in the world? How is this like an epiphany? Are we having an epiphany moment? Is people not understand the actual world that is physically around them? Is this exclusively, is this scarcity thing exclusively Star Citizen?
and creating deadlines for the purchase. In December 2014, CIG released the Javelin Starship for the cool price of $2,500.
Crazy!
The catch was there were only 200 of these ships available. This artificial...
And guess what?
Scarcity drove fans to buy out the entire batch within 5 minutes.
Oh, whoa, wait a second. Oh, those poor people. All those poor victims. Oh my God, those poor victims. What are we going to do for them? Oh my God, they're so helpless. Oh, fuck. I'm going to deliver some food to them today. I'm going to go over to their house and see how they're doing. I've got a wonderful baked chicken with some gravy. I got some steamed broccoli. And I'm going to go over there and I'm going to feed them. I will fucking spoon feed. Old Sarah. Everybody loves old Sarah. She's 81 years old. She's adorable. She has glasses. She spent $2,500 on a Javelin. Didn't know what she was doing. God damn it. I'm going over to old Sarah's today. Old Sarah loves her chicken and gravy. I need to mash up the potatoes. Very smooth. She doesn't like lumpy. She's not good with that. She doesn't have her teeth, and she's got to gum everything up. So I got to mash it all down. What I do is I pre-chew it like a bird. And then Sarah, I go, open up, old Sarah, open up. Is that too? Is the visual too bad on that? Did I go overboard on that one, Pepe? I did. I went overboard on that one. Me regurgitating, masticating, and regurgitating into old Sarah. Is that offensive? Did I offend people? I'm keeping her alive, Pepe. I'm keeping her alive. Old Sarah, $2,500 on a javelin. How dare you? And I told her she was in a rocking chair, but she had, God bless her soul, she had her Apple IIe right next to her with the green screen, with the green on green. And I said, old Sarah, what are you doing? You can't even enjoy it. We need to update your PC, hon. We need to update it.
Netting CIG $500,000
I'm buying
in the
her
process.
PC tomorrow.
But who is buying these highly priced virtual ships? All sorts of people, apparently. A quick Google search reveals dozens of articles and interviews with people who've spent tens of thousands of dollars on luxury ships in Star Citizen.
Oh my
Vice
God!
even published an article about a guy who sold his virtual fleet to purchase a used car in real life. What a loser. You really giving up on the metaverse for a Hyundai Elantra, bro? You might be thinking, why would anyone spend thousands of dollars on virtual ships?
Hold on a second. I look like... Hold on a second. Hold on, I can do this. Hold on a second. I can do this. Where's the... I feel like I'm right there. I'm so close to it. Pepe? I need you to get me a trainer, Pepe. We need to lose some weight. I'm looking too much like this dude right now. Pepe, put on the personal trainer. I need a personal trainer. What, I've allotted that money towards a Star Citizen pledge? Oh shit.
Ships in an unfinished game. The answers may surprise you. In June 2021, YouTuber Bored Gamer interviewed a software engineer who spent over $100,000 on his Star Citizen fleet. Listen to the reason why he purchased the ships.
I think originally it's because I wanted a specific ship, but you can only get it in the Praetorian pack or something. I don't.
Oh, is this the mic drop? Is he going to take me out of context, or is he took something I said, he's going to use it in his piece? Am I going to fucking blow? Am I going to get in a fucking aneurysm right now?
I don't recall. Then
Is
it
this
became,
what you guys are waiting for?
the prices on these things are ridiculous. And
Yep.
I was like, I just want to fly around with an 890 jump in the end game. Okay, well, I have to pay to repair them. I have to pay to fuel it. I have to pay all this with in-game money. I don't know if I necessarily want to, at the time, play in-game loops to do that. Then it evolved to just bugs. You know, like if a ship, like there's nothing more annoying than pay for a ship and it gets stuck and it's like, oh, you can do a character reset. I could also just buy another one. And for whatever reason, sometimes that's more appealing to me, especially if it's like a $150 ship or $200 ship. For me, time is money. So I look at, okay, how many hours is it going to take, for me to go from this end of the space station to the other end to go buy all the stuff that's on my character's inventory? Hell, it's cheaper to buy a spaceship.
Are you planning to spend more?
I always tell myself I'm never going to spend another dollar. And all I have to do is release another spaceship and I'll spend more.
I don't know if that's necessarily funny. That's called addiction right there. That shit. That's how big companies do. They it's sad to see, but they're still making the decision whether it's an addiction or not. These people actually do need some type of help. They need professional help. Like there are plenty of people out there that are just like fucking addicts. And like when I hear that shit, it's really sad to me. Because they have legitimate problems, and still, sad but true. My angle is this: like, this man is making that decision in the same manner as a drug addict. The drug addict is going back for the fix, and like the thing is with that type of illness, you eventually need to find help. You need to find outside help. First, you need to you need to recognize it. Like if this dude was speaking to me, I would be like, dude, I think that's awesome. But seriously, take some time to think about what it is that you told me. And like, I'm not trying to alarm you, dude, but like take some time to, especially if this guy, listen, if this guy can afford it, hey, cool. If this guy can't afford it, then I would seriously sit down this dude and I'd just be like, listen, man, who am I fooling? I wouldn't take the time to do that. I'm a terrible person. But I'm sure somebody out there will and should. But I'm not that person. I'm not a nice guy. Like, let's just admit it. I'm a terrible man.
But Roberts isn't just selling his fans cool virtual ships. He's also selling them a dream. They're not just buying expensive cruisers. They're supporting development on what could be the greatest space game ever.
Oh, selling dreams like electric cars like Tesla or, SpaceX, like rockets that fucking land themselves. Selling dreams like that's never happened before. Some of those dreams actually become realities. Hey, look, those motherfucking boosters, they land perfectly down there. If my dad was alive to see that shit, he'd be like, holy shit. Guess what? That came from dreams. That came from fucking dreams. Right? Is it a good analogy? No, it's a terrible analogy. It's a terrible analogy. But what I'm trying to say is when you have like visionaries in their respective spaces, those visionaries do dream and they're very good. Some of them, like Chris, at selling a dream, right? To see the dream become a reality is something that a lot of critics don't focus on. To see the progress that has happened up at this point is slow, but it's happening. Is that justification for how long it's taking? That can be directly related to the business and side of things and management, right? And there's been times where, trust me, I'm like, what are they doing? What are these guys doing? There's been a lot of those times, actually. I was very encouraged to see, fiscally speaking, that they're much healthier than they were before because of all the revenues, and they actually claimed a profit, which is super healthy financially. For a company to claim profit makes them more credit worthy to banks, to people who lend more capital to help with projects, right? It is important to actually record profits because in this world that Cloud Imperium is in, they're a private company, but they do have investors. And those investors want to make sure that there is some type of profits being made. And in the tech business, a lot of losses, like you'll see P&Ls every single year that will show losses. It's fairly normal. But eventually you do want to see a profit being recorded. One of my biggest critiques with Star Citizen was the business model and Cloud Imperium not claiming a profit for up until recently. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, hallelujah, amen. And I was like, and I was like, wow, they actually recorded a fucking gain. And it really turned me a little bit around in terms of them doing the right things professionally. Because I was very negative on the business side of things for a long time. But they've been knocking it out of the park the past 2 years, man. The revenues are ridiculous right now. But, I mean, like, should that be chastised, right? Should that be chastised? I'm not quite sure it should.
Ever made, if they just open up their wallets a bit wider. In November 2015, PC Gamer published an interview with a fan who spent over $30,000 on virtual ships in Star Citizen.
Listen, if these people can't afford this, it's a problem. It's an illness, okay? Like to take people who have an illness and then say, "Look at this. Here's another victim." Right? I don't know, man. It just seems disingenuous. I don't like it. I don't like it.
This guy, who also happens to be a software engineer, emphasized that the main reason he bought ships was to support the creation of his dream game. He'd purchased nearly every ship in the game, including the Completionist package, which costs $15,000. So if I think about, I've helped create a project that I think is going to be game-changing for the next decade, I'm okay with that. I know that I'm going to spend more. Roberts has repeatedly defended CIG's practice of selling these spaceships, including their hefty price tags. He says that people don't have to buy them to enjoy the game, but if they do, these funds help support the game's development. While there were a few eyebrow raises from media outlets over Star Citizen's monetization practices, overall most of the press was positive about the game in the first 2 years of the project. The studio continued to build on the alpha version of the game with piecemeal modules, and the funds kept rolling in, surpassing $50 million by fall 2014. Roberts had managed to build a strong community of paying backers eager for Star Citizen. In March 2013, Roberts told Game Informer that Cloud Imperium Games had 26 full-time employees. By September of the following year, that number had grown to 270 employees working in 5 different locations. To put this into context, this is almost triple the size of the team that developed Skyrim. So you'd think with all the resources and people that CIG had accumulated, they'd be able to deliver the game on time, right? Well, no. And as the initial November 2014 release window came and went, the backers of Star Citizen started asking, "Dude, where's my game?" On New Year's Eve 2014, Chris Roberts posted one of his regular updates to the studio's website. Star Citizen had already missed the original November 2014 release target that was advertised on their Kickstarter page, so Roberts wanted to update the community on where the game stood going into 2015. Star Citizen isn't a sprint. It isn't even a marathon. There is no final finish line the way you would have with a traditional retail game. Star Citizen is a way of life for as long as the community is engaged by it. Or,
let's see his interpretation of Chris's comments.
in Silas Corner's words, dare to challenge the expectation of what has come before, to embrace the unique, to put everything on the line. Only when you risk everything can we discover something truly special. Translation, we're not shipping the fucking game yet. 2015 is the year.
This fucking... how about they don't want to put out a big steaming turd? How about that? How about that angle to it? How about the angle where they don't want to put out a big steaming turd because they actually fucking care on what it is that they're creating? I mean, can we say that? Can we just fucking say that? What about actually not looking at it like that okay, like, again, it's smart to be critical, it's smart to be skeptical, but maybe the fact of the matter is he actually fucking cares about what it is that the end product's going to be. Maybe it's that he wants an experience that it is what it is that we want. Could we just for a moment breathe and take that in, that could be a possibility? Are we always going to be slanted in such a manner where everything's a shill and everything's a money grab and everything's for, like the fucking money of it all? Maybe here's a guy who really actually wants to create something that people can enjoy, right? He's a fucking perfectionist, man. There's fucking plenty of videos out there that show you. One of the most famous ones was one of the game devs bitching about the fact that Chris looked at a fucking pixel and it wasn't the right color. Chris has gotten in the way a lot, right? But he's also a fucking visionary. With the good comes the bad. That's just part of the fucking gig. That's going to be a lot of game development out there, right? But like, could we just for a moment maybe look at this in the light of maybe he wants to create something that he can be proud of? Like, sometimes people forget his background. Sometimes people forget, like, he actually enjoys doing this. I mean, Jesus Christ, he'd have to. I mean, he wouldn't even he'd have left a long time ago if he didn't love to do this. Because the amount of fucking bullshit that he's probably had to go through as a human being is fucking voluminous. This man has fucking... You ever see Shawshank Redemption? You ever see that fucking movie where they got to crawl through the fucking shit pipe? Like, in terms of the fucking bashing that this man as a human being has probably had to deal with, it's up there. It's up there. Should I feel sad and sorry for him because he's making bank off of it? And, should I look at him as a monster? You're taking my money, Chris. You're taking my money. Chris sneaking in my bedroom and pulling cash away from my fucking pillow. I saved this $5. I put it under my pillow, Chris. Don't you dare take this money. God damn it, Chris took my $5.
when Cloud Imperium Games started to face massive criticism for their handling of the Star Citizen project. While backers had been patient for the first 2 years CIG worked on the game, when the company missed their initial release window, people started asking questions. Stretch goals were a major part of CIG's initial crowdfunding efforts. As they reached new tiers of funding, they continued to add new features to their development roadmap. At first glance, this was good. More money meant that the studio could improve the game and make it even more ambitious. The problem was that Roberts seemed to endlessly add new ideas to Star Citizen. And as more money rolled in, the scope of the project continued to grow before previous features were even completed. This process is often called feature creep, a word that Star Citizen's critics began tossing around in a flood of articles during 2015. Fans have dropped $77 million on this guy's buggy
like, what I'm noticing is a pattern here, and this is like a lot of content creators jump on this for the views, for the clicks, right? I'm already starting to get like frustrated and disinterested in this because I've seen this all before. I mean, he's edited this very nice. He has actually edited this very nice. So props to him as a content creator. He's edited this. He's kept my attention up to this point. But the narrative here is so old and stale to me. The narrative is, look at the money they're making now. Now look at the money they're making. They made more money now. They made even more money. They're stealing your money. It's an insane amount of money. It's a crazy amount of time. They've taken even more money. Like it's like what the fuck is this? Is this a business? Right? Like I've heard this narrative so many times. It's just stale to me. It's stale. This might be new to some people. People might be watching this and they've never seen or don't know anything about it, right? Some people might not be involved with the project, and I'm kind of sad about this because they're going to watch this and they're going to say, fuck Star Citizen, and they're not directly involved with the project. They don't know what's been happening with game development. They don't understand that there's plenty of people having fun with the game in its current state and its alpha form. We've watched so many things Star Citizen related on the channel here because I'm a big fan of the project. Yes, I am a little bit biased. I do have my moments of harsh criticism. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I've been a naysayer. I've been a white knight, a naysayer, white knight, naysayer. Like everybody's throwing these fucking labels on me. I'm just fucking DG. I'm just DG. I'm just looking at things and telling you how I feel as I see them, you know?
Built game. Why is Star Citizen taking so long? And what the hell is going on with Star Citizen? Chris Roberts was incredibly defensive of the game's expanding scope, stating in a July 2015 blog post, "There are people out there who are going to tell you that this is all a bad thing, that it's feature creep, and we should make a smaller, less impressive game for the sake of having it out more quickly or in order to meet artificial deadlines." Now I'll answer those claims in one word: bullshit. While conducting research for this video, there is a trend I noticed here. Roberts and CIG often do not respond to criticism gracefully. When rival game developer Derek Smart encouraged Star Citizen backers to ask for refunds, Roberts said, "Derek Smart couldn't make a good game with $200 million, so I don't think his opinion matters." And when The Escapist published a series of articles critical of CIG's internal HR practices and financial management, the studio threatened to sue them if they didn't issue a retraction. While many fans were happy that CIG could expand on the vision of Star Citizen, some backers just wanted their money back. In an August 2015 report, Polygon cited, "Much of the consumer dissatisfaction stems from how little of the promised game has so far been released, and how often various modules have been delayed." But despite this mounting criticism, Chris Roberts stuck to his guns. When Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are out there, I think the game will speak for itself. The noise we're dealing with now will not be there. Star Citizen was delayed until...
Boy, that doesn't sound like a guy who cares about the end product. By the way, that was sarcasm for people that missed that.
Till late 2016, and while there was a lot of criticism of the game's slow progress, the funding kept rolling in, reaching $100 million by December 2015.
Oh no, $100 million! How dare them! Oh no, they're getting more. They're bringing in more. Now we're at $100 million price tag. Cha-ching, cha-ching, ching, ching, cha-ching, ching. Oh, capitalism, capitalism.
But missed deadlines and bumpy development would continue to plague the studio into 2016 and 17. The first-person shooter campaign, Star Marine, was delayed.
Dude, I was angry about all the shit, by the way. Like, trust me, I was right then and there. Like, I got involved at the end of 2014. I mean, Jesus. I think my first Star Citizen video was a review of Star Citizen, which was pretty ballsy because at the time, it was just Arena Commander, the motherfucking hangar. I was just so excited and exuberant. I was like, I got to put out a video about this shit because the detail was really amazing. And I thought to myself, great. And me being, you know, relatively new to the space, I'm like, I'm going to do a review. I'm going to do a fucking review. A Star Citizen review. But like, here's the thing, man. It's been a long journey, right? We've all been through it. Some people have gravitated away from the project, you know? Some people, you know, that's everybody has you can have your own fucking prerogative, you know, do what you want to do. I believe that's a song somewhere.
Squadron 42, the single-player campaign, was delayed as well. Eventually, CIG stopped providing concrete release dates and started discussing the project as more of an early access / live service style game.
Star Citizen is never going to be finished. I don't think people say EVE is finished or World of Warcraft's finished now.
Right.
Star Citizen will go on. That universe will go on as long.
And so many fucking people, content creators, will use that as like a clip and take him completely out of context. What he's saying here is that I will always focus on the development of this game, and I will make sure that we're always focusing on this being dynamic and entertaining and fun. And I can't tell you how many times content creators for the clicks will take that and they'll use that fucking clip and they'll be like, look at what he just said. It's so... If you have the brain of a gnat or you're having trouble academically speaking, you're probably going to believe people taking that shit out of context.
As long as anyone's out there wanting to play in it, which I'm hoping will be for a long time. And what we're doing with Star Citizen is we're sort of working on the game, adding features for an incredibly ambitious design. I don't think there's any other game that's trying to do as much as we're trying to do. So, you know, degree of difficulty 11, not 10.
But why was development taking so long? In order to understand that, we need to peek behind the scenes at some of the technical challenges CIG was facing. There are a variety of factors that made developing Star Citizen a massive challenge for CIG, including the rapid expansion of the studio, the game engine they were using, heavy reliance on contractors, and management of the project. By 2016, the studio had grown to 369 employees across 5 different locations in Europe and North America. Being geographically dispersed meant that CIG could hire from a larger talent pool than if they were centralized in 1 or 2 cities. But creating a company culture and management structure across 5 studios to efficiently develop Star Citizen proved to be a considerable challenge. Their decision to develop the game in CryEngine also created significant technical issues. CryEngine was one of the most technologically advanced game engines available at the time, especially for graphical fidelity. But it had been developed primarily for first-person shooters like Crysis, not massive online games. CIG had to make a lot of custom changes to the engine to suit the needs of their game, such as converting from 32 to 64-bit. CryEngine was also not widely used in the industry outside of Crytek. It was poorly documented, and it proved difficult for CIG to hire developers who knew the engine well. This forced the studio to heavily rely on contractors in third-party studios to work on various aspects of the game, which created even more problems. CIG hired a Denver-based company called Ilphonic to work on their FPS module Star Marine. But due to communication and QA issues, much of what Ilphonic worked on was scrapped and redone in-house, which forced them to delay the release of that module. There's also the sense that perhaps the studio was trying to tackle too many things simultaneously. They were developing the single-player campaign called Squadron 42, as well as the persistent universe, ship combat, FPS combat, the online elements of the game, and fixing bugs and glitches for existing modules all at the same time. One CIG developer told Kotaku UK how challenging this was for the company. You can solve those problems one at a time, but when everyone is trying to solve all the problems all at the same time, You're going to do nothing but waste money and come across huge technical limitations that you're going to need more hands-on to solve. The problems were inherent from the beginning. It's just not a wise decision to attempt everything at once. Another former developer described the current scope of Star Citizen as an impossible pipe dream. They can't make what they've promised. Absolutely not. If it happened, then I would believe in God. Finally, Chris Roberts' uncompromising vision and domineering management style kept things moving at a snail's pace. I noticed this particular point come up over and
Chris is the visionary and the salesman, period. He's not the best manager. And I think that's something that I was bitching about in 2015, 2016. I mean, it's evident to me that he's an amazing salesman, that he's an amazing visionary, that he can take his vision and he can sell it to you, right? On the managerial side of the business operations, not so great. I mean, we know this, right? I think we've seen him loosen up. I think he's making, he's putting other people in charge. And I think we've seen a change within the last 3 years on how the company's being managed. I don't know what has happened, but I noticed that there is a higher level of communication, that things are getting executed faster than they were, which to me is a slight upgrade in the business model. But that was something I bitched about a lot in 2015, 2016, was Chris got in his own way. And that's that's just constructive criticism. That's my opinion as well. That Chris, a lot of times, managerially speaking, tripped over his feet a lot, didn't know exactly who to put where, how things needed to get pieced together. That's not his forte. His forte is the guy who comes up with the vision, who knows what he wants, who wants to make sure that the end product is great because he sees it in his fucking head, and he's going to execute it the best way he can. And it might not always be great in terms of like translation over into the business managerial side of things. That's just fact to me. That's my, again, that isn't fact. That's my opinion. Okay. From many different data points when I'm looking at, the business model as far as the amount of revenue versus the amount of expenses. But I've seen a shift over the past few years. I've actually seen it in the numbers, the data. Like you can look at the data and you can progressively see more revenues brought in as a company, because capitalism, right? You can see these on these reports that they publish, and they don't have to do that. On the United States side of things, where the business is conducted in the state side of things, since they're a private company, they don't have to post that, but they're transparent and they put that data on their site. One of the reasons they put that data on their site, I'm gonna prop myself up here and give myself my own credit, because I was one of the very few, if not the only, content creator that was doing business analytical side of Cloud Imperium that nobody else was at the time. People really appreciated that content because I'm a trader in real life, because I can look at numbers and know exactly what's happening, how they're shuffling the money around, right? And I would report on them, and on the data that was available. And I would say, I need to see more, because at the time, the only data that I got was from Companies House, and Companies House is who you report to over in the UK. And private companies do report, and you can see those records on the public record. So I took a lot of that and I extrapolated numbers from what we saw at Companies House. I said, okay, here's probably what's going on. Gee, I wish we could see what was going on the US side of things. It was a couple videos in, it was a couple months later, and all of a sudden they made the announcement on Cloud Imperium's website that they're going to start posting their financials. You're welcome.
Over during my research on this video. Interviews with inside sources by Kotaku UK in 2016 and Forbes in 2019 both corroborated this. To his credit, Roberts has acknowledged the criticisms, even if he disagrees with their conclusions. He defends his scope and vision of Star Citizen. It's not easy. I think the difference between a great game and an okay game is people that try to do the hard things. It's the JFK speech about going to the moon. We do it because it's hard, not because it's easy. That's what I expect from the team. Despite the bumpy development and critics, CIG kept working on the game and releasing new features. The FPS mode, Star Marine, eventually came out in December 2016, and CIG released Alpha 3.0 in December 2017, which included 3 explorable moons and atmospheric flight. So while development was not moving as fast as anyone had hoped, new content was being added to Star Citizen. Nonetheless, crowdfunding had been trending downwards, and CIG only had $14 million left in reserve at the end of 2017.
I remember.
If the studio didn't start bringing in more money fast, the death of Star Citizen looked like it was right around the corner.
Breaking headlines, this just in about the world we live in. Cash rules everything.
More than 5 years after the launch of Star Citizen's Kickstarter campaign, Cloud Imperium Games had become a colossal operation. The scope of the game had grown massively, and the company was burning through cash at a rapid clip. One former developer said, "I think Chris Roberts got too much money too fast, that he wasn't held accountable for his words, actions."
He got too much money. Okay, sorry.
or things he was supposed to deliver, and he turned the project into a
Thank you,
runaway
Luigi,
idea.
thank
YouTuber Upper Echelon Gamers described Star Citizen as a black hole of time and money.
You could run into a game like Star Citizen, where they invest most of the budget into marketing and staff salaries, and then they task the staff with creating material that they can sell.
Marketing? We the marketing is the actual content creators creating the content for free, helping market them. The marketing department was a very small slice of the revenue that was brought in. I don't know what the fuck Upper Echelon's actually talking about. I was always bitching that they should put more money into marketing. Like, they needed more money into the marketing, man.
Sell and market so that they can get more money to invest in marketing and staff salaries so that they can, like, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. Around and around in the circle we go. A black hole of time and money.
If CIG was going to keep its doors open and continue paying hundreds of employees to work on Robert's dream game, they were going to need more money. We've already discussed...
Did his voice just change? Did his voice just change an octave up? Hold on 1 second. What just happened to his voice? I feel like it's a different person now. Hold on.
He turned the project into a runaway idea, burning through cash at a rapid clip. One former developer said, "I think Chris Roberts got too much money too fast,
Just imagining
that he
things.
wasn't held accountable for his words, actions, or things he was supposed to deliver, and he turned the project into a runaway idea." YouTuber Upper Echelon Gamers described Star Citizen as a black hole of time and money.
You could run into a game like Star Citizen, where they invest most of the budget into marketing and staff salaries, and then they task the staff with creating material that they can sell and market so that they can get more money to invest in marketing and staff salaries. So
like, so then they can turn around, and then they turn around, and then they take the monies and put it back in the marketing. Then the marketing can put the money back in the... What the fuck, dude? What the fuck is that for Echelon talking about?
they can, like, blah, blah, blah. You get the point.
Blah,
around
blah, blah.
and around.
No, I don't get the point. I don't get that point at all, actually. That just sounded like a big bag of farts is what that sounded like. What? I make more sense than that.
In the circle we go, a black hole of time and money.
If CIG was going to keep its doors open and continue paying hundreds of employees to work on Robert's dream game, they were going to need more money. We've already discussed the luxury ships of Star Citizen, but these weren't the only practices the studio was using to raise money in late 2017 and 2018. In November 2017, CIG began selling plots of land in the game for $50 to $100 a pop.
Oh my God, nobody's ever done that before. That's never been done before.
Which kind of reminds me of Earth 2 now that I think of it. In August 2018, they
Let's
removed
compare
the
it to
cap
Earth
on
2.
how much in-game currency.
Because Earth 2 is the only game we can compare that to put it Star Citizen in a good light.
Players could keep in their inventory. There were two main ways of earning credits in Star Citizen. Either earn it in the game, or pay to buy it in the cash shop. Many backers saw unlimited credit hoarding as a way to encourage players to purchase currency with real money, thus making the game pay to win. CIG eventually reversed the decision after backlash from their fan base. The studio became embroiled in a legal battle with Crytek as well. Not long after CIG switched from CryEngine to Amazon's Lumberyard engine, Crytek sued the company for breach of contract and copyright infringement. The case was eventually settled out of court in 2020 after several years of posturing. In December 2018, Chris Roberts received a lifeline in the form of a private investment. Billionaire record producer Clive Calder and his son Keith provided CIG with $46 million in exchange for 10% of the company and several seats on its board of directors. They also reached $200 million in total crowdfunding by the end of 2018. From here, 2019 was pretty much business as usual. New features were added to the game, more critical articles talked about the length of the project, Squadron 42 was delayed again, and more crowdfunding continued to roll in. But in 2020, some of the backers of Star Citizen began asking if this project would ever be.
We already saw what Ash is talking about. Ash says with SC being skill-based, the pay-to-win thing held no weight. You could buy everything, but if you suck at the game, it won't help you. And we've seen that with Avenger 1. You guys don't believe it? Go to Avenger 1's channel, okay? On Avenger 1's channel, he's in a Prospector, which is a mining ship, and he takes out a Gladius, which is a military-based ship. So, you know, Ash is absolutely right. We've already seen examples where pilots can fly ships that are really not, like, classed for a designation to be like, for instance, a mining ship blowing up a military ship, right? And what you can see is that Avenger 1 knows how to fly. And there's no pay to win element in game design like that. There's no pay to win. Like, essentially, you could go right up the ladder of different class ships and say, okay, well, if you can do it with this, you can do it with this, you can do it with that. Now, on the sheer quantity, I may agree. On the sheer quantity, taking like a huge amount of cash and shoving. I mean, like, who doesn't do that? Everybody's done that in every game. That you got a serious alliance in EVE Online, dude. Trust me, cash was being shipped in for alliances in EVE Online. I mean, this shit's just part of gaming, man. This shit is just part of gaming. It's not exclusive to Star Citizen, you know. It's not exclusive to Star Citizen. This happens all the time, man. So, you know, pay to win in terms of like just on the surface, pay to win. The only way I can see a pay to win model is if somebody just puts amazing amounts of cash to buy a huge fleet and has the amount of people to fly. It's like, here, I'm spending, you know, X amount of dollars and I've got like no end to ships in sight. And I've got plenty of meat shields that are going to man these ships. And then I've got plenty of ace pilots behind those meat shields. And that's how, tactically speaking, you know, pay to win, maybe. But on a ship-to-ship basis, Ash is absolutely right. See you, Sorial. Have a great day. Yar. Tell the Mongrel Squad I be looking out for their content. Me matey. I love Sorial, part of Mongrel Squad. Shout out to Mongrel.
Completed. Let's dig a little bit deeper on Star Citizen's single-player campaign called Squadron 42. It was originally proposed as part of the Kickstarter pitch back in 2012. CIG hired a number of big-name actors like Mark Hamill, Gary Oldman, and Gillian Anderson. They also built a mocap studio to create cinematics. But after 8 years, CIG had little to show for it, aside from a handful of trailers and the announcement of numerous delays. To put this into context, in a similar time frame, from 2007 to 2014, BioWare was able to release 3 Mass Effect games and 3 Dragon Age games, including numerous expansions for each title. One of CIG's most common explanations for the slow pace of development is that they were working on the technology behind the game. By summer of 2020, CIG had missed another release window for Squadron 42 and was basically radio silent about their roadmap. Backers began to post questions and critical comments about the progress of Squadron 42 in the Star Citizen forums. CIG responded by saying their roadmap reveal, which was hinted at several months prior, was delayed because they were still working on the technology behind the roadmap. Bro, you can't make this shit up. We really do live in the wildest timeline. Forum user Hawks fired back in the comments, and you still don't get it. It's not about a fancy update video. It's not about a shiny trailer. It's not even about a new updated version of the vertical slice,
it's working
though
gameplay.
after nearly 3 years, that would be cool. It's about simple things. How far along is Squadron 42 really? Is Squadron 42 beta ready for this year? If not, why not? What are the problems? Did you scrap half of it again like you did in 2016? If so, what was scrapped and why? But most important, what is the estimate for a release window? 2021, 2022, 2023? If there is no release window, there is no end to what you do, and thus this will go on forever.
Valid criticisms, and like really, like, you know, gameplay, you know, that works. We've seen it in various forms and functions with all the different mechanics coming, you know, refueling, medical. We've actually seen improvements, salvaging coming right down the pipe. Like we are actually seeing like game development for people that are questioning, like right now, like, is there nothing happening with this? You know, the one biggest gripe I have with Star Citizen, the physics. Like I have a big fucking gripe with the physics. But in fact, there is progress happening. Like I want people to understand, you know, there is progress happening, and it is taking a long time. Why? Guys, because it is. Like, you know, like you could go. You don't have to like fasten your seatbelt in and shove your face directly up on the screen of Star Citizen if it's upsetting you that much. You just unbuckle it. Unbuckle the belt, go outside, breathe that good ass prana. breathe that good ass prana. Go outside. You go outside. Maybe you play another game for a while, right? Like, listen. It just reminds me when my kids were really little, right? And we go on trips. And I'd be driving the car, and they would just, you know, are we there yet? No, honey, no, Zoe. Nope, we're not there yet. And then my son would be like, hey, Dad, are we there yet? Because he had like a very cute speech impediment where he couldn't pronounce his R's. Oh, are we there yet? Which he can pronounce them now. Thank you very much. But he was a cute kid, and he was like, are we there yet, Dad? I'd be like, no, Devin. No, we're not there yet. We're not there. We're not fucking there yet. And I would drive and, you know, go down the road. It's like 100 miles later. My kids had great patience. My kids, when they were kids, they actually had a really good amount of patience for kids. You know, they knew. You know, but then you travel. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we are still not there yet. Now, my kids didn't have the ability to get out of the car. I understand their frustration. They had to stay buckled in. They had to go for the duration, for the long haul, and they had to be buckled in. They had to experience all of the time. They had to wait all of that time. They had to buckle in on that ride, right? No, nobody's forcing anybody to push their face up against the glass of Star Citizen and buckle you up and keep you there. Like, if you're really getting legit that upset about it, go outside. Go outside. Find something else. Like, really, nobody's forcing anybody, right? It's not done yet because it's not done. Newsflash. I'd say it about any other project. I'd say that about any other project. It's called game development. It's sloppy at times. It can be difficult and messy, right? It's quite the process, man. If people really look under the hood of game development and really took the time to understand it, they'd be like, holy shit, these motherfuckers are crazy to even get jobs like this. Hellish amount of, like, the stress on a game dev. It's big. It's big.
No end to what you do, and thus this will go on forever. No answers were forthcoming to any of these questions, but Chris Roberts did an AMA on the forums in October to celebrate the 8th anniversary of Star Citizen. Backers could ask Chris anything, so long as anything did not include questions on timelines or schedules, no when questions. Naturally, Squadron 42 came up, with one commenter hoping for some more clarity about timetables for features. Roberts responded, "I answered the question you asked, just not the question you wanted answered." Smiley face. You're not really.
This is when Chris got a little testy. Like, get a little testy.
Really asking about what is being worked on Squadron 42. You really just want to know when it will be done. The best answer for your question is Squadron 42 will be done when it is done, and will not be released just to make a date, but instead once all the tech and content is finished, polished, and it plays great. As I'm making this video, nearly 2 years later, there is still no release date or...
That was a perfect segue from my conversation about my kids in the car into that. That was epic. That was
new
epic.
Gameplay reveal for Squadron 42. Nobody outside Chris Roberts has any clue when the single-player component of Star Citizen will be available. CIG did eventually release the fancy roadmap on their website, but this proved troublesome as well. After backers noticed CIG was repeatedly missing deadlines, the studio significantly scaled back the information they shared in these roadmaps in February 2022, with Roberts stating, "There still remains a very loud contingent of roadmap watchers who see projections as promising."
I stopped doing roadmap content. I really stopped doing roadmap content because I got enraged myself. I would literally be like, why are they putting this in front of that? Fuck this. What's taking so long in this? Like, it got me, it pushed me right into the drama. The roadmap content I used to do I would have seizures. And I told myself, I'm done with the roadmap stuff. I can't do the roadmap shit anymore. I can't, man. I can't.
And their continued noise every time we shift deliverables has become a distraction both internally at CIG and within our community. But none of these pesky roadmap watchers, media critics, or annoying YouTubers could slow down Star Citizen, which saw its largest growth in player counts and funding over the course of 2020 to 2022. This growth can be attributed, at least in part, to the massive increase in gaming and entertainment following the 2020 pandemic and lockdowns. In June 2020, the project surpassed $300 million.
Ching ching. Ching ching, they're making more money as a business. Watch out. A business making money. Holy shit.
$400 million in November 2021. Recently, Chris Roberts projected Star Citizen was on track to reach $500 million in total crowdfunding by the end of 2022. Additionally, they expect to reach 1 million unique players and 4 million player accounts this year. In response to some of the Star Citizen forum critics, Chris Roberts said, "I can promise you the gameplay I described is not a pipe dream, nor will it take 10 to 20 years to deliver. But given Star Citizen's track record and the project's lack of accountability, why should we believe him?"
We got a conclusion. We have a conclusion. Oh. Yes. Listen, no offense. This guy actually edited this together really, really good. He did great editing. I've seen this before like 1,000 times. I've seen this before.
Star Citizen is truly a game like no other. The dream of a massive space simulation crafted by an uncompromising
Right,
visionary and fueled directly by the fans. Over 10 years in development and $500 million are invested in this project with no end in sight. Will Star Citizen ever have a feature-complete commercial release? It seems unlikely. Roberts has repeatedly stressed the live
Pez.
service
See
nature
you,
of
buddy.
the game,
Have a good day.
saying
Thanks for
things
stopping in
like
here, bro.
it's not a sprint, it's not even a marathon,
We love you,
and
Pez.
Star Citizen will never be finished. Star Citizen's development cycle reminds me of a scene from the movie Snatch, where Jason Statham's character is waiting for his buddy to finish making sausages.
What's happening with those sausages, Charlie?
Dominique Sturkis.
What's happening with them sausages, Charlie?
5 mini Sturkis.
It was 2 minutes, 5 minutes ago.
Star Citizen will most likely remain in a permanent early access state so long as Cloud Imperium Games can continue generating the funds necessary to support the project. Honestly, what incentive do they have to fully release the game at this point? They've already raked in hundreds of millions of dollars with zero accountability on their deliverables. Why would they do anything differently now? If their fans and backers are satisfied with the project overall, they'll continue to fund it, and I see no problem with that. As long as they're happy with the progress, I guess that's all that matters. But given CIG's track record and Chris Roberts' vision of the game, I don't have a lot of confidence that Star Citizen will ever live up to the dream. Thank you all for watching. This video
Well, thank you, Negative Nancy, for throwing a giant wet blanket on at the end. We really appreciate that. Those of us who've been following know there's actual progress happening to the game, man. Like, I don't know if these people are involved as long as we have. It wasn't necessarily a thorough video, but he put some data on there. It was slightly, you could hear it in his tone. It was slightly biased against the project. It's not a big deal. I thought I was going to get crazy and raged, and frankly I'm disappointed because I wanted to get angry. I really wanted to get angry, and I have to say, I think honestly in the editing of it, great. In terms of my interest, again, I'm biased here because I've seen this 1,000 times, right? Like, my interest was mediocre at best. like when it came to watching this, it kind of had me at the beginning, and then it just started to slowly get bogged down, and I got disinterested. But I think that, I think that if you talk to people who are involved directly with the project, they understand the pitfalls, they understand the steps backwards, but there is something truly unique about Star Citizen. It's game design that focuses on creating spaces in which people can interact with one another and use their imagination, which is, something I find a lack of with today's gamer base. Imagination isn't the only thing fueling this in terms of content. There's actually game development happening. Game mechanics are being produced, and we are seeing the production. We are seeing them come online from the PTU, Persistent Test Universe, to the PU. We are seeing those slide over. The testing process is pretty good for the most part. How they slide over from the PTU to the PU. We do see the progress. Is it slow? Yes, it's slow. Are there bugs? Are there there's so many things you can rail upon Star Citizen at. But at the end of the day, look at all the content we've watched here. Look at all the fun people have had, right? What I primarily see is the people that really enjoy Star Citizen right now are those people that really like player-to-player interaction. Not necessarily the solo player, the PvE player. I haven't talked to many that play games PvE style that are sticking around like a lot of the PvPers or people that are, or what I say P2P, which is player-to-player interaction. But in terms of player-to-player interaction, in terms of the environments, in terms of the progression that we've seen in game design with planetary landing, which is phenomenal, weather systems or the weather that we are perceiving in terms of game design in Star Citizen's fantastic, visually stunning. And I think for those of us that are into this game, you're loving the looks, right? But looks isn't everything, right? And for the people that want more than just the surface and want to dig a little bit deeper, I highly recommend it. Only costs like $40, you know. And to me, that is so worth it in its alpha form right now. It's an easy purchase, you know. And sure, you're going to have your times where you're pissed off with the game. But I noticed like a lot of the content that we're watching together, where you see like Citizen Kate with Skunk organization, these ops they have are absolutely fantastic. Last night at the after party, we saw this interaction between Avenger 1 squad and Skunk, and you saw this amazing war, this battle that lasted 6 hours, man. 6 hours of fighting on a planet. They went through 3 day and night cycles. Phenomenally fun to watch. The people that were involved in it, trust me, they think there's a game there. Trust me. And so this game lends itself to people who like danger. This game lends itself to people who understand game development and understand that this is going to take time. And that's just the way that it is. Just the way that it is.